At the 29th United Nations Climate Change Conference in Baku, Azerbaijan, discussions are intensifying around the urgent need for enhanced climate finance to support vulnerable nations, with a push for new funding targets potentially reaching $1 trillion annually. For African nations where climate impacts are hitting hard, climate finance and practical strategies for adaptation and resilience have emerged as critical topics on the agenda. Another priority at COP29 has been implementing the Loss and Damage Fund, established at COP28, to help countries manage the unavoidable impacts of climate change. Climate activists have emphasised the importance of African nations ensuring their fair share of support from this fund, particularly to address climate-induced displacement and damage from extreme weather events. For more on this, I'm now being joined by Adenike Oladosu, who joins me now from the conference. Adenike Oladosu, thank you so much for joining me on Channels Business Global, our very own, Nigeria's very own iconic climate activist, chasing world leaders around the world. It's quite interesting. I was looking down at my questions and I'm realising I'm asking you the same questions every year. I should know them off by heart. So talk to me about the main talking point for us, for Africa at COP, which of course is climate finance, a top priority. Same thing every year. Are you hoping to see some changes? Just give me an overview of what your first few days at COP have been, slightly overshadowed, of course, by last week's election in the US. Of course, we know Biden hasn't turned up. But talk to me about what you've seen and heard so far and whether or not you remain optimistic that change can come from a conference such as this.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. As we all know, this is COP29, and it's a reminder for the fact that we need to act as soon as possible on the climate crisis. And most importantly, why I'm at COP, being the new climate champion of education cannot wait to push for global financial investment on education to deal with the climate crisis, and most importantly, to push for more awareness and also more climate finance generally in innovations, technology, smart agriculture across all sectors. And conferences like this reminds us of the fact that we don't have time. We need to start to walk the talk. We need to start making leaders to see the reason why they need to act on the climate crisis and to shift away from the fossil fuel dependent economy to start seeing how we could transit effectively into sustainable activities. And basically is to see how we could also use the new collective quantified goal that is just set for COP29 to work on how financial tools for developing countries like Nigeria would be assessed, the needs, the priority. And so it's very important that we have climate finance on all our agenda, be it gender smart, technology, so that we could push forward in solving the climate change crisis, because we all know it's a multiple crisis and it's defining every country, but it affects the countries from the global south.
Last year, you were fortunate enough to speak with the President, Bola Tinubu, when he was in Paris. Of course, he's not there in Baku with you. He could be watching. What would you say to him?
Thank you so much. And also thank you so much for the invitation to meet with him. That was in France last year. And one of those concerns I raised while I met with him was the fossil fuel, because we know that Nigeria is fossil fuel dependent, but then we need to transit. We need to put all measures, because we know the root cause of the climate crisis is the fossil fuel. And so it dwells more on the need and demand for energy. And so we have the tools, we have the energy. I mean, when it comes to wind energy, solar energy, we have those solutions to solve the climate crisis. And so what we need in terms of Nigeria is the investment in the right tools, the right technology. Young people like me and other people are developing new technology every day. So we need those investments to position Nigerian youth towards harnessing those funds that could help young people to scale up in terms of innovations that are out there, and for us to also switch from the fossil fuel to more renewable energy. We have the solar, we have wind energy. We could develop on all of those energy structures to see that we are able to transit effectively and to also harness funding from the loss and damage, from the new financial tools, and for every other sources that could help Nigeria towards its transition.
Absolutely, really important fundamental points there. We do hope the change makers are listening, because it is an important discussion. But we will be following up. It would be great to hear from you this time next week, because I know, of course, COP does go for a couple of weeks. So it'd be interesting to see if some of these discussions around loss and damage fund and climate finance are actualised, not just pledged and pledged. We need implementation, don't we? Adenike Oladosu, who is a climate activist representing Nigeria at Baku once again. Thank you so much for your time and expertise.